Thanks for joining us on this Saturday afternoon where qualifying is about to start here in Austria. So sit back and enjoy the afternoon session.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Once again, we are back with career mode. This is the Austrian Grand Prix. Jumping straight into qualifying today. Nothing really to be said about practice. Went through all the practice programs and that was all sweet. In terms of this career mode though, I've been going ahead these last few days, just going ahead and recording races, and for the first time and I think in a while, like a year or two, I've actually been ahead by a few races, and I mean this genuinely when I say that I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen this race. So this is actually, in a way, kind of going to be like a live com episode, so we'll see how this goes. Qualifying here, yeah, it's going alright at the moment, P10 at the moment, but we are last out of everyone who has set a time so far. If I do remember correctly, driving around at the time, I was thinking that maybe this wasn't going to be the best of circuits for us. It is a very high average speed circuit with a lot of fast flowing corners, the kind of track layout that doesn't really suit the McLaren. I'd have to say that downforce now is probably our worst facet on the car, so if you go by that logic, we probably won't be as strong around here versus, say, like a Monaco with lots of slow speed corners. But so far, P18, we improved to 17th place, but still not quite good enough. Not even in front of our teammate Fernando Alonso. So we have a lot of work to do in this session, and that's what we're going to try and do now. It looks like the weather is kind of getting a little bit worse as well. The clouds are rolling in, so we possibly could see some rain if we make it through to qualifying 2. But 4 minutes to go in the session. We're just cracking on here, just doing lap after lap after lap, seeing if we can build our pace. And to be honest, so far it's not really working, is it? We're still in the danger zone, and we've completed 4, going on 5 laps now as we cross the line. Still P16, so not really where we want to be. We're 1.7 seconds off pole, which in theory is quite close, but, you know, due to the short layout of Austria, not that close really. So we headed back to the garage, and by the time we got settled and got ready to go out again, the rain hit. So that was the end of our session there. So it's 16th place for the Austrian Grand Prix. Disappointing result, it must be said. All I needed to find was about a 10th or 2, but to be honest, I'm not too sure if I would have been actually able to find that in terms of the setup I was running. I do remember I was running with a Russian setup, and I don't know why. I should have just gone into time trial or whatever and just grabbed a really quick setup, which I normally do, but for this race, I didn't do that, and we've been caught out a little bit. But yeah, we're out in Q1. We went through a similar phase last season in Season 1 when we bumped up the difficulty to 110. We were struggling then, and it seems like we're struggling now once again. But this time, I don't want to resort to, you know, lowering the difficulty because, you know, the qualifying glitch isn't really there anymore. But since we're at the back pretty much, I decided to do the thing that we should have done in the last race in Baku, is take the 6 power unit, and that should hopefully make our second half of the season a little bit easier in terms of, you know, durability of the power unit. But we've taken that 6th unit. We're not going to use it though. We're going to save it for later. Jump onto the 3rd or 4th one. Just use a fairly newish power unit and see how that goes for the race. Hopefully we can move forward. I feel like, as always, with a good strategy, we're always better than where we qualify. So we'll see how we go. For the start of the Austrian Grand Prix, hopefully there's more points.
A tough race in store then for our drivers today, so tell me, Anthony Davidson, what will you be looking out for as the cars make their way down into Turn 1?
Well, first of all, let's hope that everyone's well behaved and we can have a nice incident-free start. That initial release is going to be the most interesting thing, and the clean side of the grid will be better rubbered in, so keep an eye out for cars over there potentially making their way through.
So here we are then, on the grid of the Austrian Grand Prix. In all honesty, at the moment, we're really just holding out until we get to Belgium, really, because we've got some massive upgrades heading our way for that race. For now, though, we're just accumulating points and putting in good performances, trying to increase the reputation of McLaren Honda and my own standing as well within the team and other teams in the paddock. But yeah, we've got a tough outing today. Pretty much last place with all the new components we've taken. We do have the choice of whatever tyre we want, but I decided to start on the supers. It looks like it's going to be a one-stop anyway. We're going to run the supers and then take the softs all the way to the end of the race. I'm not too sure if the same can be said though for the front 10 runners. They may need to do a 2-stop in this Grand Prix. Hopefully they can though, and that can mean that we get a few surprise positions over the course of the race. But we're ready to start the Grand Prix now. Unfortunately, Fernando's missing, and I have absolutely no idea why.
I really don't care too much.
Fernando was just done with life. He was telling me over the radio. He said something about this race being a test session. But either way now, we are ready to start this Grand Prix now. The Austrian Grand Prix, 5 red lights, and we are underway here in Spielberg. It's been an okay start. We kind of draw alongside Marcus Ericsson as we head into turn 1. Pascal Wehrlein getting pretty racy there up the inside of Magnussen and Alonso. We make contact with the Sauber driver and we take his position in the process. 3 wide now for my teammate Wehrlein and Magnussen, and the Sauber driver on my inside tries to get in the thick of things as well. As we head up the hill, we're in standard revs, going to go up the inside of Wehrlein. Hopefully he goes actually really late under brakes into turn 2 there and picks up a couple of positions himself, then decides to swerve at us a couple of times, 3 times. Do I hear 4 times? It's actually 3 wide. I didn't know there was another car on the inside, on the outside there, in the form of Danny Kvyat, I think it was. So no wonder, yeah, Wehrlein was asking for more space there. Just, oh wow, when you go 3 wide in the 2017 cars, it's almost like the equivalent of going 4 wide in the 2016 cars. There really is no space to go 3 wide. But either way, heading into turn 2, on lap 2, we had a look there up the inside of Palmer. Wasn't really asking the question there. I was just simply braking quite late, and I think Palmer was caught up on the back of another car who was going slowly themselves. But either way, we find ourselves under attacks from Carlos Sainz now, around the outside into turn 2. This is now where things are really going to settle into the race now. This is where people start to, you know, find their feet, and, you know, the guys who are quick are going to find their way through, and potentially for us, if we're not quick and we don't nail some of these early laps, and we're going to start to fall down the order a little bit. A lot of the guys around us as well, starting on the ultra soft tyres, which is quite a surprise to me, because I don't think if you start on the ultras, you'll actually be able to make it to the end on a one-stop. So a lot of the AI opting not to go for the, is it the conservative strategy, or is it actually aggressive if you do the one-stop? I'd say conservative strategy. But lap 7 here, we find ourselves getting in the mix here with Grosjean, Palmer, Verstappen, a few others as well in this little train here. I believe Grosjean has a problem, so we're going to find our way around the outside here as we go up the hill. We'll have the slipstream of Palmer as well to boot. Does Grosjean lunge us up the inside? No, he does not. We kind of protect that line anyway by moving to the inside, and we cut off that kind of move from happening. So Grosjean falling down the order a little bit, might have lost a bit of front wing on someone squabbling early on in this race, and now we see Sainz, Verstappen, and is that Hulkenberg going 3 wide, or is it Palmer? I can never quite tell. The helmets, I know they're a lot different, but I can never really tell sometimes. It's got to be Palmer. It was a blue helmet, I believe. But either way, we're hopefully going to get involved with these guys as well. Kvyat, the loser out of that battle. We'll see if we can get him up next if we can. Palmer basically just the cork in the bottle there, and as soon as Verstappen can find a way around him, then we could potentially see these guys pulling away from us. Kvyat, though, into turn 2 makes a little mistake, and that's us up in a P12. So we'll have a look on the onboard from here. Some would probably say that I had a little look there and Kvyat just sidestepped, but no, he actually had an inside front lockup, which you know, completely sent him wide and gave us that free position. But he tries to have another look now on the next lap. He goes up the inside. A bit of contact was made as well with the side pods, and he gets a position. So, yeah, Kvyat was clearly not happy, and gets a position back by diving in there like you know what. But now we find Carlos Sainz as well, making the most of that bad run that I got through the middle sector. Doesn't quite get the move done, though, and we'll have to probably wait until he gets DRS, or maybe even get me on the run up the hill. That's often where the AI are going to overtake us, especially in the slipstream. With this McLaren Honda, the straight line speed isn't great. I think I'm running 5 wings, AI running 6.6, so overall there's not much of a difference, but it just comes down to slipstream and how good of an exit you can get off of turn 1 as to who's going to come out on top by the time you get to turn 2. So Carlos Sainz gets us there. He's back in a P13. We have another counter-attacking move into turn number 3. We get him back, and it's a nice little squabble that's starting to emerge in this race. Lap 13 now, diving into the pits. Actually quite early, considering that everyone else on Ultra Softs is only stopping now as well. So it looks like tyre wear for the AI is actually pretty good. I was just completely writing them off in terms of doing the one-stop. Turns out they might be on the one-stop strategy as well. So perhaps maybe in the future, looking at tyre wear upgrades is probably a way to go, so that we can use or utilize softer compounded tyres. But either way, on the pit exit, we absolutely make the most of that with all the space available. but it's still only P19 as we rejoin on the circuit. Fernando Alonso up next, I believe. He hasn't stopped yet, or has he? No, I actually believe he has. He's on the soft compound tyres, and I believe he started on the supers himself. So he's done a few laps on his tyres already, and we should be able to gobble him up quite nicely with some slipstream and DRS. And that is move done. For some reason, I find Alonso to be fairly slow in straights. It's almost like he doesn't run rich revs. He is in the Honda, of course, as well, but yeah, it's quite odd to be racing against someone who is actually slower than me in a straight line. I'm not used to it, it must be said. But either way, lap 17, we're basically halfway through this Grand Prix now. Ericsson gets a terrible run through turn 1. I think he got shoved out to dry by Kvyat, and I didn't need a second invitation there. We gobbled him up, and so did Jolie and Palmer. I'm saying gobbled him up. I've been watching too many Into the Barrier videos. It's got to be what it is. But either way, we find Palmer up the inside now. Fresher tyres is really king around this circuit. It must be said that even though this is a one-stop race, the tyre wear around here is traditionally quite harsh, and we're kind of feeling the effects of that now, as anyone who stopped after us and just emerged behind us, that's a nice little excursion there through the curbing there that sent us into a little bit of a wheelie. Yeah, if anyone emerges right behind us on fresher tyres, they absolutely smash past us with really solid pace. Pascal Wehrlein out of the Grand Prix. He stopped at turn 3 and possibly has an engine failure or gearbox. You can see on board with Lewis Hamilton and Bottas as we go through turn 3. He's just parked on the inside there. Might trigger a safety car. I'm not too sure how I'd feel about that. Daniel Ricciardo was out of the Grand Prix as well. One of my championship rivals. Didn't have a good race in Canada, didn't have a good race in Baku in the last episode, and now he finds himself DNFing once again. That's at least three DNFs in a row. He's just asking me to absolutely smash him in the championship. He might be under threat from, I think, Felipe Massa in 7th or 8th now. So if he gets a good finish today, he might drop below the Williams driver. That is unheard of almost for a Red Bull driver. It's almost he's like literally having the same luck as Verstappen in real life, but we find ourselves on the attack now with Danny Kvyat. He's got to have a problem here. That Toro Rosso is certainly faster than us. Fernando Alonso is in the pits, but meanwhile we have K-Mag up the inside into turn 1. Gives the Torpedo a bit of a tasting of his own medicine there, and they both carry on without any front wing damage, surprisingly. When you make light contact like that, often there is some, people end off worse for wear. But again, we see the two Toro Rossos fighting off against the two Haas's, and we see Magnussen go off at turn 1. I can't keep up. Now he spun out a Williams. What is going on in this race? The AI are going a little bit silly, it must be said. That's his Lance Stroll at turn 1. He's just all by himself, an innocent bystander, and then I think it's Magnussen who just gets a terrible run, rejoins the circuit dangerously, sends the Williams spinning, and he's going to have a change of front wing as well. I believe he had some damage, so possibly a penalty as well heading the way of Kevin Magnussen in this Grand Prix. But lap 24 here, we find ourselves in P11, literally just one spot away from some points. Make that 2 spots now as Carlos Sainz dives up the inside into turn 2. Can't quite get the move done though, and that is P11 still for the taking for Sainz. Again into the final, or penultimate corner, sorry. He had a look there earlier on in the race, didn't quite work out for him. We turned across him, did the same once again, except he wasn't as close. But I'm desperately trying to hold on to this position if I can. If there's any retirements up ahead, then we will get some points there, and that's just what I'm holding out for. I'm just trying on as desperately hard as I can to keep him behind, and we have some blue flags because Hamilton is making his way through. We haven't had any safety cars yet in this Grand Prix, so it's no surprise that we actually are getting lapped in a fully green flag race where the Mercedes absolutely suit this track to a T. We let Lewis Hamilton go through. It's crucial to let him go and make sure that we don't lose the spot to Sainz in the same maneuver, which we do manage to upkeep, and yeah, the battle can resume for most of us. But it's going to be a case of who can navigate the blue flags the best, because we have the likes of Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Raikkonen, and Bottas as well making their way through the field. And yeah, it's going to be crucial to make sure that we don't lose too much time when we give up a position due to the blue flags. I think Grosjean behind us is letting Vettel go through now. Sainz has already let Vettel go through, and we've got to do the exact same. I have to lift off ever so slightly, and we just tuck in back into the slipstream once again. So yeah, we're now a lap down. We essentially don't have to worry about fuel now because we're doing one less lap. So for the rest of this race, we're going to be burning even more fuel, and that's why I'm going into the red region to keep these guys behind. We now see Grosjean getting in front of Carlos Sainz and now having a go at me. He's certainly going to be more threatening in a straight line though with that Ferrari power, so we're going to have to be on edge now as we head into turn 1. It could be 3 wide between the 3 of us, but no, Sainz tucks in behind us and is 2 wide between myself and Grosjean. Light touch through turn 1, nothing major though, and we managed to hold on. So yeah, just trying to do everything I can. The lack of straight line speed still, it really plagues us. It really puts us under pressure heading into braking zones. If we just had another, I'd say 10 horsepower, we'd be okay. But we just find ourselves in awkward situations sometimes. Bottas is coming through now, and he's caught me at probably the worst point because I've been, lapping around here for 20 or 30 seconds with Bottas giving me the blue flags, and I was almost fearing I was going to get a penalty then, but thankfully we managed to avoid that. But Bottas doesn't get the best run through the penultimate corner. Slows us up a little bit, but it was no real drama there. Lap 33, getting dangerously close to the end of the Grand Prix now, and you can see here I make a critical mistake, turning in just that fraction too early into the final corner, hit the yellow bollard thing, and it set me wide, and that allowed Grosjean to sneak on through. So I was driving so well up until that point. We lose the back end massively out of the first corner as well, and I was angry at myself because I knew my chance of getting past Grosjean again was over. So it was just down to holding on to P12. There's probably no chance of us getting points now. What's the likelihood of 2 people retiring on the last lap? It's not possible. So today we're going to come away with no points in what is a pretty frustrating Austrian Grand Prix. I should have known this coming into this Grand Prix. We just didn't have the pace. The track just didn't suit the traits of this car, and we gave it our best shot. We did the 1 stop, just the pace wasn't good enough in order to get us up the order. So 12th place, no points, back to the drawing board.
Okay, good job mate, really well done. That was a fantastic drive.
Anthony, what do you think made the difference here?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
And here are our podium drivers today after that excellent race. They've excelled here, as they so often do, and it's a well-deserved victory. Mercedes, then, are on top today.
So Lewis Hamilton then wins yet another race in this championship, further cementing his position to win his 4th World Drivers' title. But yeah, a bit of a nothing race today, and we gave it our best shot. We did the 1 stop. We didn't really make any major mistakes. It was just the pace today that was lacking. Alonso didn't really have anything to show either, going a lap down and in 15th place. This was probably bound to happen sooner or later after turning up the difficulty to 110. We just, couldn't really do too much. The car doesn't suit this track, and it's kind of, again, reaffirmed to me that we need to work on the downforce, which is coming, I believe. I don't know if I've already bought the downforce upgrade in this episode or previous to actually recording it, but yeah, we do have some downforce upgrades on the way in the future. That is definitely the focus for the second half of the season, and especially heading into Season 3. We haven't lost any places in the drivers, I don't believe. Still 4th in the constructors. We're getting caught up by Force India and Williams, so we need to up our game certainly in the next episode in the British Grand Prix in order to retain our position in the constructors, because you can't get away with too many double no points finishes if you want to retain a solid position within the constructors. But that's it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, even though the result was a little bit crap. But just bear in mind, I've gone ahead, I've done a few races, and there are some really good things lined up in the pipeline. Lots of upgrades, a few tracks that are going to be suiting us as well, and the ultimate engine upgrade, which is really going to make us competitive. And speaking of downforce upgrades, here it is. We're going to upgrade the front downforce, and that is going to make things much easier for us when we come to tracks like Austria, Silverstone, Japan. There are a lot of those tracks, and hopefully this upgrade does work.
Okay, I've got something for you. The new parts have been fitted to the car. The simulation numbers are good, so look forward to your feedback. Check out the details.
Thank goodness for that. We've jumped straight on to Silverstone now for the British Grand Prix weekend. And good news to start off with, we do have that upgrade, which has worked, which is actually quite surprising. I was thinking that maybe the upgrade would fail since we did it right at the end of the Austrian Grand Prix weekend, and there was going to be such a short turnaround time. But no, Chris smashed it, the R&D team smashed it, and now we're going to hopefully have a competitive car for Silverstone with our first downforce upgrade. But guys, that has been this episode for today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Like I said, bit of a nothingness kind of Grand Prix. The racing was pretty good, but the results certainly wasn't. But hey, what do you expect when you don't upgrade the car for 7+ races, I think it was? Bahrain. That is such a long time to go without upgrading the car. So it was no surprise that we've had a few dud races since Monaco. But I tell you, as soon as we get some upgrades going, we get that ultimate upgrade going, we do some downforce stuff, the second half of the season should hopefully be a lot more positive and a lot more fruitful than what we're seeing right now, especially when you throw engine penalties into the mix as well for the AI. But that's been it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Should have career mode out a lot more frequently now that I've gone ahead and recorded a lot more episodes, so look forward to that. Until the next one, guys, the British Grand Prix. I'll see you next time.